जनवल्लभ गिरिवरदा जनवल्लभ हरदा यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन ब्रज जन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी यमुना तीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव बिहार राधा गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपी जनवल्लभ यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन ब्रज यमुना तीरवनचारी माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सिद्धि हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ISKCON founder Acharya, BPT founder Acharya, savior of the whole world, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivajagacharya Ashtotar Satashi. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहिए जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। नवदीप श्री मायापुर धाम की जय। गंगा माई यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। कलयुग पावन श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. एक साथ नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं मुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। So, Hare Krishna. So we are today will be discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, sixth chapter, verse number 33. Pragayatha swaviryani tirthapada priyashrava. I'll first recite and then you can follow behind. Ahuta iva me shighram darshanam yati chetasi. Pragayatha swaviryani tirthapada priyashrava. Ahuta iva me shighram darshanam yati chetasi. Pragayatha swaviryani. Now you can. Priyashravaha. Ahuta eva me shighram darshanam yati chetasi. Now devotees from here would like to recite this verse. Pragayatah swaviryani tirthapadah priyashravaha ahuta iva me shighram darshanam yati chetasi. Pragayatah swaviryani tirthapada priyashravaha ahuta iva me shighram darshanam yati chetasi. Somebody from online would like to recite?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanak Pranam, can I?
Yes, Mataji, kindly.
Pragayata swaviryani
Pragayatah swaviryani
Tirthapada priyashravaha
tirthapada priyashravaha
Ahuta iva me shighram
ahuta iva me shighram
Darshanam yati chetasi.
darshanam yati chetasi. Hare Krishna. Word to word meaning. Pragayatah, thus singing. Swaviryani, own activities. Tirthapadah, the Lord, whose lotus feet are the source of all virtues or holiness. Priyashravaha, pleasing to hear. Ahutaha, called for. Eva, just like. Me, to me. Shigraha, very soon. Darshanam, sight. Yati, appears. Chetasi, on the seat of the heart. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear, at once appears on the seat of my heart as if called for, as soon as I begin to chant His holy activities. Purport: the absolute personality of Godhead is not different from His transcendental name, form, pastimes, and the sound vibrations thereof. As soon as a pure devotee engages himself in the pure devotional service of chanting, hearing, and remembering the name, fame, and activities of the Lord, at once he becomes visible to the transcendental eyes of the pure devotee by reflecting himself on the mirror of the heart by spiritual television. Therefore, a pure devotee who is related with the Lord in the loving transcendental service can experience the presence of the Lord at every moment. It is natural psychology in every individual case that a person likes to hear and enjoy his personal glories enumerated by others. That is a natural instinct, and the Lord, being also an individual personality like others, is not an exception to this psychology, because psychological characteristics visible in the individual souls are but reflections of the same psychology in the absolute truth or absolute Lord. The only difference is that the Lord is the greatest personality of all and absolute in all affairs. If, therefore, the Lord is attracted by the pure devotees' chanting of His glories, there is nothing astonishing. Since He is absolute, He can appear Himself in the picture of His glorification, and two things being identical. Srila Narad chants the glorification of the Lord not for his personal benefit, but because the glorifications are identical with the Lord. Narad Muni penetrates into the presence of the Lord by the transcendental chanting. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Dalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. हरे कृष्णा ऑल डिवोटीज, स्वागत है आज के प्रातःकालीन भागवतम कक्षा में। एक्चुअली आज का क्लास जो है वो स्केड्यूल किया गया था हिज होलीनेस श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य स्वामी महाराज के द्वारा, बट बिकॉज ऑफ द रिकमेंडेशन फ्रॉम डॉक्टर, सो ही इज नॉट कमिंग टुडे. So the good news is he will be coming tomorrow, and tomorrow he will be speaking from some transcendental topic related to holy name. But the unfortunate thing is now you will have to bear me, and you will have to tolerate me, because I'm not qualified to speak on this particular aspect of glorification of the Lord, chanting which penetrates in the transcendental world. Golokera na premadhan harinam sankirtan. So I'm absolutely not qualified, But if you bless me, if you pray for me, then I can utter a few words in line with the what Acharyas, Parampara Acharyas are saying, what Prabhupada is saying, what Vartaman Acharyas are saying about the chanting of the holy name. So please bless me so that I can speak something which is in line, as well as it is pleasing to you, and simultaneously purifies my inattentive chanting, my sleepful chanting. So with this discussion, we'll start our discussion today. Frankly speaking, this class I'm giving it after so many days, little nervous also. Such a vast topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, such qualification is needed for a person to sit on Vyasasan. But because it was a circumstantial, so I took this dare to speak in front of you all. So if you see the context of today's shloka, so it is how slowly Narad Muni is coming to the perfectional stage of his bhakti life. Initially, when Vyasdevji was morosed, he was not feeling satisfied at his heart. He was not feeling transcendental happiness, which is promised in the Vedic scriptures, when you perform bhakti. So that type of happiness was not experienced by Srila Vyasadeva. And even though he did so many things for the welfare of the people of Kali Yuga, this is the particular sign or particular characteristics of sages, that they don't do any activity for their personal sense gratification. Because generally what we see is whatever activities we do, we generally do it for our selfish agenda or maybe extended selfish agenda. Just like now the warlike situation is going on, and today at least in some cities of India, there is mock drill also. So such warlike situation is there, and such warlike situation basically arises because of a lot of adharmas are happening, and then Lord wanted to wipe out. But anyways, this today is not our subject matter. Coming to the Vasudeva's transcendental dissatisfaction. So no matter how much we do philanthropic activities, so much things if we do for the welfare of the body, mind, and soul, so not soul, but body and mind of the particular individual, but still it is not sufficient. And that is what we can see from the life of Vasudeva. Now, when the Vasudevji was dissatisfied at his heart, immediately the Narad Muni comes and he gives the transcendental teaching to our Vasudevji to compile Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Srimad Bhagavatam is not only will give relief to the unfortunate jivas of this Kali Yuga, like Vasudevji mentions. What are the qualifications of this people of this Kali Yuga? Prayena alpayusha sabhyam kalayavasmin yugejana. So all these qualifications, but there is one very beautiful quality, that Krishna deva kirtana deva Krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. So you haven't exclusively glorified Krishna, so that's why you are feeling dissatisfaction in your heart. So what is the solution? The exclusive glorification of Krishna. And that is what basically inspired Srila Vyasdeva to compile Srimad Bhagavatam. So if you see the beauty of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam is not only give solace to the conditioned living entity who is influenced by the tamogun, rajogun, and sattvagun, but it also gives pleasure to the Atmaramas, the people or the transcendentalists who are self-satisfied. That we can see it from the life of the very own speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Shukadeva Goswami, right? So Shukadeva Goswami, he was self-satisfied. Right from his birth only, he was self-realized person, and he was Brahmavadi. He knew what exactly, the transcendental, whatever knowledge he needed for coming out of this tamogun clutches of tamogun, rajogun, satogun. He had all these things. But still, when Vasudevji chanted this verse, um, uh, actually I'm forgetting the verse, but the essence of this verse is how Lord is merciful. Aho bakiyam stanakalakutam, right? So how Krishna is merciful, even though the Putana, she was coming to kill Lord Krishna, but still Lord Krishna gave him the position of mother. So such are the activities of Lord. And with such activities only, we can basically remember Lord Krishna constantly. And that is what the theme of this verse is today. How we can cultivate the constant remembrance of Krishna. Of course, there are a lot of themes discussed by Srila Prabhupada in this particular verse. Themes like, how even Lord also likes to hear his own glories. Now, somebody may question that, now what is the difference between the Lord and then conditioned soul? Because conditioned soul in the conditioned state also like to hear his personal glories. Then the question comes, what is the difference between the Lord and the conditioned soul? Then immediately Prabhupada clarifies the thing. Prabhupada leaves no doubt when reader of Srimad Bhagavatam. So whenever chance comes, he gives left and right to the Mayavadis. The Lord is not impersonal. Lord is always personal. So whenever the point comes, and Prabhupada also gives a very wonderful clarity that how Lord is person also. So here Prabhupada is saying that even though Lord is transcendental, but still he likes to hear his own glories. So, and then the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra can penetrate the transcendental world. Because just like in the beginning we mentioned, the holy name is not of this world, but it is from the spiritual world. So now, having said that, the Bhagavatam was compiled by Srila Vasudev, and it also meant to attract the transcendental people. Apart from for the benefit of Kali Yuga, it is also meant to transcend, or to inspire, or the people who are at the level of Atmaramas. So now, the spiritual master, upon bestowing the mercy, then this obviously there's a curiosity in the mind of Srila Vasudevji about Sadharma Pricha. How the Narad Muni perfected his life. So Radhesham Prabhu was saying, or even Madan Sundar Prabhu was saying, that Narad Muni, or the Narada the boy, is such a wonderful character in Srimad Bhagavatam. It basically shows, how a living entity or a conditioned soul can develop a bhakti. So if you see the background of Narad Muni, he was not Brahmana, he was not a king of the some wonderful emperor. So he was like ordinary person, like maybe like me, like some of us, right? So then Vasudev was curious to know about the life of the Narad Muni, how he perfected his life. So then in the verses which was prior to the 33rd verse, so a lot of wonderful speakers gave explanation how Narad Muni perfected his life. He first, whenever he first took the association of Bhakti Vedantas, even though he was not as such qualified Brahmana or something like that, because the transcendentalist or the Bhakti Vedantas, because of the Grishma Rutu, not Grishma Rutu, Varsha Rutu, they were at one place. So during those times, or of course in current time also, even in our ISKCON movement, a lot of sannyasis, they travel throughout the year. But during those times, the sages used to sit at one place and discuss Harikatha, especially during the rainy season. So the Narad Muni got benefited of this association. And through this association, then Narad Muni, after the the departure of these Bhaktivedantas, and that's what the most important section, because after the departure of Bhaktivedantas, he didn't sit ideally or continue to perform his regular duties. So that is one thing, one learning for us, that whenever we see such a wonderful discourse, just like Kaushal Prabhu was mentioning, after hearing those wonderful discourse, we should meditate on those points which are discussed in those discourses. Because if we perform our usual activities even after having or even after hearing the transcendental knowledge, then basically we are not assimilating that knowledge, right? It should come into our practice. We should thoughtful about it. Of course, Kaushal Prabhu has very wonderfully mentioned about how one can be thoughtful about the transcendental subject matters which we heard in Bhagavatam, or classes like Prithivardhanam, or morning classes or evening classes, whatever classes that we hear. So that is the thing. We should basically contemplate, so that our usual regular routine, which might be affected by the three modes of material nature, can be overcome easily. So that is a thing. And then this is how we see in the life of Narada the boy. He very wonderfully contemplated the subject matter which was discussed. Also, he took remnants of the Bhaktivedantas, and that's how he basically got the grace of Bhaktivedantas. And with the help of that grace, he was able to, take the challenging situation in their life, or challenging situation in his life, very mercifully. Because at times, if we are not paying much attention to the transcendental subject matter, transcendental knowledge, transcendental activities of the Lord, then whenever we face challenges in our life, then our response will be same. What could be the response? Let me try on my own efforts. Just like Mother Draupadi, when she was in a very difficult situation. So first, she tried to seek help of his her husband. And then even that was not successful. Then she tried by herself, tried to protect herself. But at the end, everything was not fruitful. Then he called up the Dwarkadish, or Lord Krishna. So if you see, at the end, Mata Draupadi took shelter of Lord Krishna. So if you see in the Narad Muni, when the difficult situation, like his only shelter, the only shelter which Narad Muni had, he was having only shelter of his mother, right? And that too of a young boy of age maybe 5 years, the shelter of mother means a lot, right? Even though a person grows up, still he feels the need of a shelter. But you can imagine the situation of a boy who is just 5 years old. So and that only shelter of Narad Muni was taken away, right? So that was the adverse situation in the life of Narada the boy. And he took it very gracefully. He did not grudge. He did not curse the Lord that, why you put me in this particular situation. Generally, people often ask a question, why bad thing happens to good people. So the Narada the boy, he did not ask that question, and he took the situation very gracefully. And that is what the importance of the hearing with submissive attitude, or hearing with contemplation, or hearing with assimilation. So when the adverse situation comes, we have our astra and shastras in our in our subconscious mind to tackle that situation. It is very famous saying in the field of war that the more you sweat in the time of peace, the less you bleed in the time of war. So So similarly, when the warlike situation comes in our life, so if we have not prepared ourselves fully or not prepared ourselves with the transcendental knowledge, then again we will fail in that test. How come we fail? Because we'll give the same repeated response which is under the mode of material nature. So if you transcend, then we'll have to give the transcendental response, like in case of Narad Muni. And after giving that transcendental response, he basically went to meditate in the forest. He came across so many alluring things, the wonderful cities, the village life, and so many things which falls under the category of Sattva-gun, right? So even Sattva-gun is also very binding. Of course, the Rajogun and Tamogun, they are binding, but apart from the Tamo and Sattva, Tamo and Rajo, the Sattva-gun is also binding. And that is what basically Narada boy taught us, that even we have to live this mode of goodness. And mode of goodness is characterized by happiness. You feel contented, you feel satisfied. But Narada boy is also teaching that you don't have to stop it there. You have to transcend. Of course, this mode of goodness helps us in our bhakti, but we need to transcend. And just to give glimpse, then Lord gave the darshan to the Narad Muni, but immediately he took off his darshan from the heart of Narad Muni. And the reason was there was still some tinge of materialism left in the heart of Narad Muni. Maybe it was the life of goodness. So that also Lord wanted to give up. Lord is like, demands full surrender. Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. So if you want to be on the steady on the path of bhakti, you have to surrender. You have to surrender your the so-called shelters in the form of money, so-called shelters in terms of the false identity, because currently we are under our false identity. Sometimes we think of ourselves as a body, we think sometimes ourselves as a mind, we think sometimes as our false ego. So all these things we have to give up if we basically want to perform the pure devotional service. All these false shelter, because I'm an Indian, I'm a Pakistani, or I'm a American, or I'm a clever person, I have abilities, I have strength. All such things basically do not help us when the challenging situation comes. So coming to the point, the Narad Muni, then he meditated on the Lord. He continued his meditation in Bhakti Yoga. That's why Prabhupada, at all the places, Prabhupada gives the tinge or gives the flavor of Bhakti Yoga. Even though if you see in the last some set of chapters of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada always stresses on the part of Bhakti Yoga, although the section is of Jnana Yoga, because if you see, there are majorly the transcendental or absolute truth can be realized in the three phases: Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagwaniti, Shabdati. So the Gyan Marg is made for those individuals who are Nishkam Karma Yogis. I wanted to show some slide, but I think it is working. So, but ladies, time is not that much. It will take a lot of time. Anyways, I'll orally only tell the essence. So, if you see the path of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. So, the Karma Yoga path basically, the Jnana Yoga path is basically meant to give us the Brahman realization or the Paramatma realization. Ashtanga Yoga and the Jnana Yoga, they are nothing but on the similar line. And the qualification needed for this Jnana Yoga is Niskam Karma Yoga. Niskam Karma Yoga, what does it mean? That you have to give up your results. You don't have to be attached to your results, fully in the service of the Lord. So that is the qualification of a Jnana Yoga. Now, while after performing long-term this Niskam Karma Yoga, then the person can be elevated to the platform of the initial stages of Jnana Yoga. Because see, everything at last you have to give the karma also. The activities which are, very special or very touching to your heart. Just like, for example, if I talk in my sense, the coding or development was very wonderful for, or very liking to my heart. So if you see, you have to give up that activity also. Sometimes it might happen that a person might get detached from particular result which is obtained from the activity, but it is even more difficult to give up the activity itself, and that is basically is a qualification for an individual to qualified himself for the Jnana Yoga. And what activities then individual do in the Jnana Yoga? He basically read the scriptures, contemplates or speculates. And if you talk about Ashtanga Yoga, then he performs Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, and Dhyan, Dharana, Samadhi. So activities like that. And then even with that also, he cannot enter into the Brahman. Even if that gets matured, that he cannot enter into Brahman. So if you see in the 14th chapter, Lord Krishna describes about the certain aspect through which basically a Jnana Yogi enters into the Brahman realization. And in that, Lord mentions that, Ananya Bhakti Yoga. So some tinge of Bhakti Yoga or the devotional service to the Lord is needed even for a Jnana Yogi to enter into the Brahman realization. So, because Brahman is although a part of Lord's effulgence, which is transcendental, now even to see that, you need some aspect of Bhakti Yoga, right? So, even if you want to see, or if you want to partially realize Lord, still you need to have that tinge of Bhakti Yoga. Now the other path is the path of Bhakti Yoga, wherein what is the qualification that you need is basically the mercy of devotees. Because just like in the path of Jnana Yoga, the qualification was Nishkam Karma Yoga. In the path of Bhakti Yoga, the qualification is Shraddha. Dhrida Shraddha on the activities of the Lord or the scriptures, or whatever you see, name, fame, form, and activities. So that, and Shraddha comes with the surrender. And that's what basically Krishna is describing in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. So the act of Krishna, the act of Arjuna being in the, following the instructions of Lord Krishna is not through the activity of Jnana Yoga or because he has understood. So sometimes, we might perform some activity because we have understood it very clearly. But there are so many things in the Vedas or in the transcendental narration of Bhagavad Gita also, which is beyond our comprehension. Just like, for example, Bhagavad Gita 9.4, 9.5, Lord Krishna says that, I maintain this world, but I'm aloof from this world. Very difficult to understand how Lord Krishna is simultaneously one and different. So like that, it is very difficult to understand. So what is the problem with the individual who acts only with the understanding based? So the moment the person do not get the understanding, then he will not act. So the act of war through which the Arjuna had agreed, it was not out of his intellect was satisfied. The act of Arjuna, he basically agreed to the instruction of Lord Krishna. It was purely out of the core original nature of a soul. Jivera Swarup hoy, Krishna Nityadas. He surrendered himself in the Bhakti Yoga. And that's what basically inspired or motivated Arjuna to act in the particular direction. So that is the difference between Jnana Yogi and Bhakti Yogi. Bhakti Yogi acts out of surrender, because surrender is one major qualification of an individual, or qualification of individual to progress in the life of bhakti. Even the stage of bhakti starts with little Shraddha. Prabhupada says that, little Shraddha, that, this Krishna consciousness movement is very wonderful. So with that little Shraddha, one associate with the devotees of the Lord, and then he basically work on his anarthas, and then the later stages, transcendental stages of bhava and prema then develops. So if you see, current verse is absolutely on the platform of love, because Lord Krishna is not subservient to any of the things. But यहाँ पे आप देखोगे, so here it is said that as if called for, ahuta eva. That means as if called for. So if you see the translation, Lord Krishna appears on the seat of my heart as if called for as soon as I begin to chant his holy activities. So, but if you see few verses prior, Narad Muni was trying very hard to invoke the presence of Lord, invoke the darshan of the Lord in his heart. But still, Lord did not give his darshan, because Lord wanted to prove, or Lord wanted to establish this fact that our efforts are not sufficient to invoke the darshan of the Lord, or to invoke the presence of the Lord in our heart. But if you see here, because the heart is fully satisfied, fully pure, so in such heart, the remembrance of the Lord is very, very natural. So the part of Bhakti Yoga, or the process of Bhakti Yoga, like or the activities of Bhakti Yoga, like Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedam. So all these core activities of Bhakti Yoga, pure activities of Bhakti Yoga, if we perform, then the remembrance of the Lord is very natural, as if it is called for. So it is not like the Lord is obliged. So so that is one point I wanted to emphasize, that Lord is not subservient, but because the devotee is pure with his intention, pure at his heart, so Lord Krishna appears as soon as one remembers. So but in conditioned state, we can't remember Lord Krishna 24 hours. Although Bhagavad Gita mentions some of the ways through which we can remember Krishna. Rasoham apsu kaunteya. Even Prabhuasmi Shashi Suryo. When we feel thirsty, now in the month of May, we can experience this thing very well. The moment we are thirsty, no Coca-Cola, no Thumbs Up, no Pepsi can quench our thirst, but mere water. So the taste of water basically satisfies our quench, or the thirst. So Lord is saying that the moment you get that relief, you can remember me. How? Because the taste of water is basically me. So it is come from me. Similarly, the sunlight and the moonlight, right? Moonlight gives the taste in the vegetables, while sunlight nourishes those the fruits and vegetables. So that's how we can cultivate the remembrance, but at conditioned state, because we are caught up with avidya, avidya, and then after avidya, because see what happens when soul comes into the world, it comes with avidya and karma. So avidya, what is the function of avidya? Avidya is basically makes you forget that you are a soul, because the soul has a capacity to recognize himself as a soul, just like our eyes has a capacity to see the object. But if you make everything dark, then in spite of having a seeing quality or the observation quality, but still the person cannot see it. Similarly, the soul covered up with the avidya now cannot experience the presence of the Lord. So cannot even what to speak of presence of the Lord. He cannot recognize himself as a soul. And then with the subtle covering in terms of false ego. So if you see, we have the subtle covering in the form of 5 layers. The thickest layer is of a false ego, then chitta, then intelligence, mind, and senses, and then the whole thing is covered with the gross body. Now, if you see what is the function of false ego, now we have forgotten that we are a soul. Now, what is the function of false ego? To give us the false identity. You know, what can be the false identity? I am this body, I am this mind, I'm Indian, I'm American, I'm Pakistani, or I'm whatever word designations which are there. So all these designations which are given by the false ego. And if we, because of this, this is called as Bahirmukh Jiv. So if you want to reverse our journey, then we have to follow the path of bhakti, which is most suitable for this age. Because the path of Jnana and Ashtanga Yoga, which is spoken in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, Arjuna itself, he himself says that these paths are not practical for me. So then Lord suggests the path of Bhakti Yoga. And then, just like we mentioned, the qualification for Bhakti Yoga is the process of Shraddha. Shraddha comes with the surrender. And then Sharanagati, basically, surrender comes when we associate with the like-minded people, or associate with the elevated Vaishnavas. Just like Madhavendra Prabhuji yesterday gave very wonderful aspect of association at 3 levels. Association at the junior level, wherein you are giving association, and at the 2 levels, like in the peers and at the level of senior, you are basically sharing association and taking association. So in this aspect of association, if we slowly forward in the process of sadhana bhakti, then only we can develop the aspects of bhakti yoga. Otherwise, ekantika harir bhakti utpata eva kalpate. So if an individual try to perform this bhakti can be performed only in the association of devotees. And that is one of the biggest gift given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you see, Lord, when it descends, it has various purposes. But if you see the descendant of the golden avatar of Lord Krishna, in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so you see, he give the detailed process, just like child, when he do not know how to walk or how to write ABCD, then mother puts his hand and write ABCD, right? So like that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave us the path of bhakti, which was further simplified or further propagated or further made it ready to available by the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, primarily Rupa Goswami and Sri Sanatana Goswami. Then it was made even practical, because these literatures are in the Sanskrit language, and this was even made more practical by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And that is what the mercy of the sages. It has started from the sages of the Naimisharanya, who were performing the yajna for the people of Kali Yuga. Then they found out that this yajna is not fruitful. Our faces are only becoming dark, and nothing fruitful is happening. So they invoke the invited Sutta Goswami to speak on the subject matter of how this Kali Yuga people can be delivered. And then it was spoken by, of course, then Sutta Goswami quoted the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. And this Nigamakalpataror Galitam Phalam, this mature fruit, very carefully got transcended from the Guru Shishya Parampara, from the Acharya, one Acharya to another Acharya. And then finally it came to the His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And so our responsibility is also equally important, because now we have got this fruit. So our responsibility is also there to propagate this wonderful fruit of devotional service to whatever extent possible, to share with the masses, to share with the classes. The mass preaching done through the Harinam Sankirtan, class preaching done through the propagation of the Gyan Yoga aspect of the Bhakti. So these are the things. And here basically the Lord is demanding the full surrender. Full surrender is equivalent to pure devotion. Pure devotion means it is Gyan Vihit, it should not have a tinge of Gyan and Karma. Because sometimes we might take help of the karmas to perform the pure activities. But eventually we should come to that platform of pure devotional service. And that association or that thing can only be done if we have the association of devotees around. So in summary, basically we have discussed or touched some basic points, because here the theme, 2-3 themes were there, just like I was mentioning. One thing is Lord wanted to Lord likes to hear his own glories, and that's what basically, that is one of the reason where Lord comes in the heart of his pure devotees. Then another one is basically how, with the help of transcendental service, a pure devotee experiences the presence of the Lord at every moment. So at conditional state, because we cannot have that type of remembrance, so we discussed, what are the paths are there, and how Bhakti Yoga basically is a path of surrender, and how Arjuna basically demonstrated that thing by agreeing to the will of the Lord. So, this thing is there. And then at last, of course, I was not qualified to speak on this topic, because a lot of things can be spoken from this particular purport of Srila Prabhupada. How Narad Muni, his chanting penetrates into the presence of the Lord. How he penetrates the presence of the Lord by the transcendental chanting. So here Prabhupada is using the word transcendental chanting, not inattentive chanting, right? So because inattentive chanting does not lead to the invoking the transcendental presence of the Lord. It's like a few days back we have heard how the inattentive chanting is can be done. A person basically who is not having some level of sattva-guna, if his mind is in rajoguna or tamoguna mind basically often slips in the chanting, and he relishes that tamoguna. And in rajoguna, basically an individual is thinking of the subject matter which are not related to chanting, or he's basically in his own world. That is what the disadvantage of these lower modes. So at least if you come to the platform of Sattva-guna, we can have attentive chanting. And what to speak of transcendental chanting, right? So because I was not qualified, so I didn't spoke much on those topics. Of course, if Maharaj would have been here, he would have, he personally loves the chanting and Nagar Sankirtan. In the last Ratha Yatra, almost for 2-3 hours continuously, Maharaj glorified the holy names of the Lord. He throughout did Sankirtan in the last Rath Yatra without any stoppage. So that is what basically is a person who has developed the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, right? Because I was not qualified, so I didn't speak much on those aspects. But if Maharaj would have been here, he would have got much more depth or much more clarity on this subject matter. So I try to dwell on the general concepts of Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga. So with that, we'll pause our discussion. I know the time is up. So we'll pause our discussion, and maybe we can take one question. If anybody is having a question, then we can take one question. If there's no question, then we can close this trail. So first of all, is there any question from the online audience? Okay, looks like
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danda Pranam.
Pranam Prabhuji. One question. You were telling that there is a tinge of Bhakti Yoga even in Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga. You know? The Karma Yoga, we understand everything begins with like paying obeisances to Lord. Everything is kind of offered to the Lord. But how is it in Jnana Yoga? Okay, I don't know. Maybe you can confirm. We read scriptures, they start reading, they try to develop knowledge of the Lord. Then how is it, Prabhuji, in Ashtanga Yoga?
Mataji, if you exact verse, I'll ping you on WhatsApp. But if you see in the 14th chapter, if I'm not wrong, 13 or 14th chapter of Gita, Lord mentions the 18 or 20 items of knowledge. So he gives so basically these are the items which a Gyan yogi, he practices this knowledge. So he basically the Gyan yogi practices at all times that I'm not soul. He do not have any clarity on that, I am the servant of Krishna. But he only, I'm not this body, I'm a soul. So he continuously practices that thing. And so this is one aspect. So like that, there are many aspects, Mataji, which a Gyan yogi refers or Gyan yogi practices. So exact reference I'll give you because time is also up. I'll have to find out that exact reference wherein the Lord discusses about the 20 knowledge items. 13 chapters, 8 to 12. Yes. So Ritesh Prabhu found out. So 13 chapter, 8 to 12 verses, Mataji, are basically those different aspects which Jnana Yogi follows. So if you see in that, Lord also is mentioning that the Bhakti Yoga or some aspect of Bhakti Yoga is followed by the Jnana Yogis. Because what happens, Mataji? Because everything in relation to the Lord is transcendental. And that can be seen only through the lens of the Bhakti Yoga. Just like Brahmaji mentions, Premanjana Bhakti, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochayana. So with the ointment of Prema only we can see the Lord. So because the Brahman is also the transcendental aspect of the Lord, so even if to see that, the Jnana Yogis, or to merge into that Brahman, the Jnana Yogi need that aspect. Of course, their Bhakti is not prominent, Mataji. There the Jnana is prominent. The Bhakti is not given that prominence. So that's why they only able to see, so that's my conclusion, that's why they only see the partial aspect of the Lord. Because if the Bhakti component is pure, then we can see the Bhagwan realization of the Lord. So that is a reference, Mataji. The Gita, 13th chapter, verse 8 to 12, right? So that is a reference for the Jnana Yogis, wherein they follow the 18 to 20 items of knowledge. So in that, the Bhakti aspect is mentioned. Because Mataji, the desirelessness, true desirelessness can happen only with the help of Bhakti Yoga. Otherwise, it is very difficult or impossible only. I hope it clarifies your doubt.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. So the time is up. We'll pause our discussion here. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।